Prepare for a revolution. Witness how AI transforms online gambling.
I'm very pleased to be on this panel, sponsored by NOUV, myself, Andrew Naudi. I'm a partner and CIO at NOUV. And I'd like to welcome my guests on the panel today, starting with Mr. Peter Wilson, CEO of PWL Legal, experienced gaming lawyer. I've also got Mr. Vasilii Gamov, CMO from RichAds, and Mr. Stephen Lazarionok, CTO from ZingBrain AI. Thank you all for being here with us today. I'll join you over here as well.
So, Andrew, we can't wait to learn all about the topic today, which is about AI. Is that right?
Correct. Today we're going to talk about basically how AI is transforming the online gambling industry. And we've got a varied panel over here. We've got a legal representation, a person from the technical aspect and also from the marketing side. So hopefully we'll have a good understanding of how AI is going to transform or is already transforming the online gambling industry. We've only got 20 minutes, so I'll start immediately, and I'll start with you, Stephen. From your experience with ZingBrain AI, how is the technology enhancing the player's experience when it comes to players gambling online?
Sure. So, hi, everyone. So I would like to start with two facts. So fact number one is Gartner predicts to have AI share as a business value evaluated as $2.9 billion by 2025. It's a very huge number. This is fact number one. Fact number two is, in general, in iGaming industry, I believe we're lagging behind in adoption of AI services and AI tools. So combining two facts, I believe we can expect that we will have like a huge jump in the near future in case of where we can adopt AI. So again, like we can take a look at other industries such as e-commerce or finance, and we can see like obvious cases such as personalization. So you can personalize the whole experience of iGaming content, whether it's games, sports events, or other stuff, and do this unique personalization experience for every player. But you can go even further and enhance the content inside these events, like games, by crafting new media content, adopting mechanics based on the player experience. And who knows? Right now, we also like have generative AI, which is about like to creating like new stuff, so we can create and enhance mechanics and come up like with new techniques of creating games. And well, basically, I believe that in the near future, the AI will be able to create iGaming content by itself. So that's how I feel. Thank you, Andrew.
Thanks, Stephen. You mentioned that the online gambling industry is actually lagging behind when it comes to artificial intelligence. Why do you think this is the case?
So, well, why that, right? So I believe like we're a young industry here, and so maybe not. So we're lagging behind, but we also see that like that the huge players already started like to adopt an AI solution. So that's the fact that like we have to admit and like move forward.
Okay, Steve. From my experience working with operators in the industry, we're talking about platforms that today are 15, 10 years old, and maybe still working using technologies of that time, and they wouldn't have yet transformed into the AI side. So what you're doing at ZingBrain is definitely an eye-opener for all operators out there. Peter, I'll come to you. Stephen mentioned predictive analysis, using data, etc. From a regulatory point of view, what is the landscape out there? How can we ensure that players out there using online gambling solutions are treated fairly, and they have the support of the regulators and of a legal system behind it.
Okay, well, I think AI in gambling is in a bit of a honeymoon period, in that you have a cottage industry almost of applications being developed for responsible gambling, for anti-fraud, AML, for gamification, personalization, whichever buzzword you want to use to make games more attractive and personal to individual players, a bit like Spotify and Netflix, to cater to their preferences. You've also got it in marketing and advertising, as Vasilii's going to talk about. So you've got a range of applications at the moment. What is the regulator doing about it? Well, I had a look round at what regulators are doing, and at the moment, very little. And I think that they're even further behind the curve in that they don't really understand what systems are out there, and they're investigating it. And then they need to think about, how do we tackle this? Because there are threats. There are threats in terms of, so with personalization of gaming, it's a kind of double-sided coin. So on the one hand, you might say, we're giving the players what they want. We're serving the customer more attractive games, more attractive graphics. We're cutting out the slot games that they're not really playing on, because we've analyzed all their historical data, and we are using predictive analysis to say, where are they going to play more? Where are they going to bet more? Where are they going to play longer? So now, is that ethical? Are you encouraging addiction? Or are you just giving the player what they want? The other side of the coin is that actually you are trying to draw them in, you are trying to cause more problems, and so it's not ethical, it's not an attractive thing, and it should be restricted. So I don't know what the answer to that is. I think maybe it's going to be transparency. Maybe it's going to be, if you seek the player's consent, and you're going to be saying, we're going to use your data and we will be serving you with recommendations. We will be serving you with games that we think you are more likely to want to play. Now, sorry, I know it's going on a bit long, but I think that the point is that when the regulators look at this, they say, do we need to regulate AI use in gambling? First question is, if they do, how? How are they going to regulate it? Are they going to test it like they test games? You can test an RNG. Is it random or not? If it's random, fine, you get a certificate. How do you test a neural network? How do you test that the input or the data that you train the network on is going to provide a fair output? Because even the big tech companies on the complex systems with multi-layered deep learning neural networks, they don't even know necessarily how they get to certain outputs. So I don't see how regulators who are not known for their technology experience are going to be able to deal with this. So the problem is, how do they regulate it? Now, I think that one question is, do you need specific laws for using AI in gambling? And I think a reasonable answer to that is no. Because when you come to marketing and advertising, the regulator is looking at the outputs. So they're saying, is it fair? Is it transparent? Are you advertising fairly? Are you using marketing incentives that are not going to encourage players to have to play a certain amount within a certain period of time or with a certain frequency? So if you're looking at the outcome, then you don't necessarily need to look at the input. And the same with games. If you're looking at transparency and you're asking the player's consent, then you don't necessarily need to go and spend ages looking at the technology. So I think that is kind of where I'm coming from. At the moment, I think regulators are well behind the curve. I think when they catch up, they're probably going to be looking more at the outcomes because it's easier. And they just say, this is what we expect of you. So it's more tinkering with the existing regulations, because we've already got data protection, advertising codes, we've already got game testing, game requirements. Even the white paper in the UK is concentrating on the outputs of speed of games, automatic play, multiplayer games. This is all outputs. Does that kind of deal
Very
with some of
insightful,
your
Peter.
points?
Very insightful. You mentioned data-driven predictive analysis. I'm coming to you, Vasilii. Especially used for marketing, for incentives, etc. Two questions for you, Vasilii. First of all, you can explain the technology behind it and how it's adopted in the online gambling industry. And second, should we be concerned that the technology might not treat the end user fairly?
Yeah, sure. First of all, I totally agree with my colleagues about that AI is already on the table. So how we use it in part of marketing, we use it for texts, for images, for videos, and we already improved our processes by 30 or in some cases even by 50%. We use a lot of AI technologies in marketing, in-house and from the market some. So the main thing here is when you use it, you should use it mostly for templates, to solve the problem of blank list. It can increase the text speed creation, the image creation, the video creation significantly. But when it's fine for if you work on some common topics and common ideas. When you go to some expert content and content where you're going to share your expertise based on your internal data, unfortunately, AI is not so good, and you still need to attract designers, copywriters, and so on to work on this content to get a good quality. This is the point about marketing, and if we talk about data-driven marketing, about campaign optimization, we also actively use it. We have our in-house technologies for our in-house traffic sources, like performance mode, which optimize your campaigns. We use Google one based on conversion value optimization, which also automatically optimize your campaigns. It improves results significantly, and in some cases, even 2 or 3 times, we get better results. So you should use it for sure. If you don't use it, unfortunately, in the nearest time, you will lose on this market. And when we go to responsible using of AI technologies, it's crucial. Because unfortunately, when these technologies just appeared in the beginning of this year, a lot of affiliates and even some of operators used these public sources like ChatGPT or something, and they shared their internal data with these sources. I mean, data of their users, of their customers, and so on. Unfortunately, I know about cases like that. So, and when you use it with public service, be sure the whole world will know this data, so it's unsafe. The point here is to protect client data, so we should implement at least some GDPR regulations here. For sure, as Peter mentioned, it's difficult to regulate AI right now because it's like stunning technology. It's developing like instantly, but for now, we should protect client data, and at least if you use it with public services, use synthetic data, for example, to protect it. And if you use it on your, if you create your local AI technologies on your local services, for sure it's much more safer, but you should be sure also how to use it. So this is the point.
Can I just
Peter,
make one quick comment?
Go ahead, Peter.
So what I was talking about really was talking about the regulated sector, licensed operators. Of course, there's always the dark side. And I think that what's going to happen is unlicensed operators are going to be using all the tools they can for really unethical gaming. And unfortunately, regulators don't tend to pursue unlicensed operators because it's easier to pursue people who are on your database, who you license. So you don't really see much effort by regulators in going for the black market. And this is where the damage is going to be, I think. So when you were talking about ChatGPT and really the misuse of data. And the other thing is, how do you make sure that the data is good quality that's being input? So the quality of the output depends on the quality of the input, doesn't it?
Yes, the quality of prompt is crucial here, because if you put a prompt with one word, I need like analysis, it will be quite common. But if you work on prompt like you're an expert, you know these fields, you know, you have this experience and so on, a good prompt will improve your results. And this ChatGPT and other AIs, they are based on language models and machine learning. So you can improve it step by step. And with more and more data, you will get better and better results.
In fact, talking about this point, how can we ensure that bias, data bias, is avoided by the data we're feeding these algorithms and the output they're giving out to us?
You ask
Anyone from you?
Stephen, we've let
You can
you
start,
out.
Peter, because like that's your
How
point.
can we ensure the data is good?
Well, to avoid data bias, right? That the final output is biased because of the data that we input into the algorithm.
You can't unless you can go back and check the quality of the data. I'm not. That's a technical question I'm not qualified to answer as to how you regress and check back the data. I think in terms of looking at the output from a kind of regulatory point of view, I would say it's almost to some extent self-regulating, because if you're getting bad outputs and the customer is not getting the desired service, then you're going to turn them away because you're going to lose customers. And for licensed operators, it's going to damage your brand. So I think there is an interest in making sure that the models are trained well and that you continually train and improve the quality of the data. Would you guys agree?
Yes. So actually, like we started like with AI, which is like top of the iceberg, and then we made a transition to discussing data. So where the data is the foundation, and as Vasilii mentioned, so well, it's all about the data, and there are like multiple concerns, like how you store the data, how you process the data, how you make sure that like it's stored and encrypted in the proper way, and how you segregate the data for different players, and also like synthetic data. And for sure, like then when we look at the data from regulatory perspective, then it's also crucial like to basically enhance regulations and to have more than GDPR. So, and also like garbage in, garbage out. So the very famous quote. So you have to care about like the quality of your data. So, and I would say that's in our area, this is like the crucial part, because like we spend, I believe, like 80 or 90% of all our engineering time, so crunching the data and like storing, processing, etc., etc.
So from what I'm understanding, from a regulatory point of view, it would make sense to regulate the outcome. So what the tool or what the algorithm or whatever we're building is producing, right? Would it also make sense, as we do for the online gambling operators, to have a deep understanding, a deep look at the people behind who's developing these algorithms? Like we have, key functions within B2C operators, where they go to scrutiny by the regulator to ensure that they are up to scratch. Should we do the same for the developers in this case, or the people behind the guys developing these algorithms?
I believe yes, but it's very hard to do because, like as Vasilii mentioned, AI is emerging area. So and like we cannot come up like with mechanism and right now at least like with mechanism like how we can control it.
And I think it all depends if you're looking at data science, crunching data, you're looking at providing predictive analysis and so on. This is not necessarily part of the actual gamble. So it wouldn't necessarily or probably not come under the requirement for licensing software because you're not providing gambling software as such. It's a bit like people who you have various companies who might provide odds on tennis matches, so they might specialize in that. And they can serve that, and they generally don't need licensing because it's provision of data that is used to set odds, but it's not part of the gambling transaction with the consumer. So, but in time, I think that my prediction, as it were, is that I think this cottage industry of all these different applications and uses of AI will become absorbed into your normal casino or sportsbook platform. And so you guys are going to make millions because you're going to be lucky ones with your great products and you'll be bought out. But I think that's going to happen. Like a lot of technology, at first it's different and it stands out there, and in time it becomes absorbed into the norm. And I think that's going to happen with AI.
Thank you, guys. As you can see from the screen in front of us, our time is up.